What happened was the upper part of the capsule uh, held the parachutes. There were two parachutes, the main parachute and backup, which were identical, completely identical. Even the systems were all identical. They had their own drogue parachutes and pilot parachutes and everything else. But we never had to use a backup system. But this was all, and there was a hatch up in front, up at the top. If you're sitting in the capsule on the pad, of course it's a cone around you like that. Well, right up there would be this hatch, and that was nothing but a dish that was held in place more or less by the pressure. Although it had a few dogs, but it was out inwardly opening door, which made it very light, and of course it was dish shaped so that it was just about as light as you could make it. So when the thing got on the water and floating upright, you could unfasten this dish and push the containers for the parachute, just push them out and they'd fall overboard, and then you get out. As a matter of fact, Scott Carpenter's flight, because he fiddled around with with his attitude control system unnecessarily, he landed several hundred miles from where it was intended to land, so they had to wait a number of hours. And he'd gone through his whole routine. He was sitting up there on the top of the capsule waiting for them to come pick him up when they showed up. So that part worked. Well, the astronauts did not like the idea of being trapped in this thing, and so they complained about it, and we put this explosive bolt device on the side there, which had to be armed and then fired. And apparently Gus must have armed the thing and then hit it with his elbow and it fired. I'm pretty sure he armed it.
And the water started coming in.
He didn't want to admit that he armed it, but he armed it, I'm pretty sure. And he apparently hit it with his elbow and it went out. Now, and he might not remember arming it, to tell you the truth. So,
he only had one other
but,
during. I'm sorry.
It's no reasonable way that thing would have taken off and fired by itself.
Okay. You only had one other incident during the Mercury program that must have made your blood pressure go pretty high is with the retropack on John Glenn's flight. Tell me about that.
Well, this is one thing that I'm kind of proud of in a way. We considered all possible kinds of failures, and one of the failures that we considered was that the retro package would not get jettisoned. We had the retro package sat on the heat shield and it was held down by 3 straps, and I thought, well, maybe the damn thing wouldn't get jettisoned for some reason or another. So we ran some wind tone tests with the retro packs on there and found out it was stable with the retro packets on there. So we had these sensors, and the sensors were designed so that any one sensor said that they had not been opened, it would let you know that. When any sensor that opened would let you know it had been done. And apparently we had a bad sensor on that flight. and we thought that the heat shield had been released. Well, the arrangement was such that if the heat shield were released, the straps would have still held it on. So everybody was concerned that the heat shield had been released because that's what the instrumentation said. So they called me up. I was back in Houston, and asked me what about it, and I said, well, you can enter that way because we got wind tone data that says the thing will be stable.